afternoon, my fellow fanaticals. I'm your host, Chris Stanton, and you are listening to the CSBS Sports Edition. It is hump day. Woo woo! So your day is almost over, and you are more than halfway towards the weekend. We've got some great stuff coming up for you today, including our annual and weekly segments of Fantasy Football Weekly and the ever-popular For the Love of the Game. But before we get to some of our later segments, we do have some housekeeping to get out of the way, and that's that the CSBS will be moving. Yes, we will no longer be on Wednesday afternoons. We are moving instead to Saturday mornings. Saturday mornings at 9 a.m., still on Spreaker.com, and you can still access all of these broadcasts through YouTube, Facebook, Spreaker, and Tumblr.com. Now, as I said, we've got a lot of good stuff for you today. And if you have any comments or questions about what's being broadcast today, give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. 630-534-0779. I'm also available on Twitter at the CSBS or via email. That is cmstanton2@gmail.com. And now that we have gotten all those little addendums out of the way, we can go straight to our weekly segment. That is calling out the BS.
You talking to me? You talking to me? You talking to me? Then who the hell else are you talking? You talking to me? Well, I'm the only one here.
Calling out the BS is brought to you by Arby's. Try Arby's Giant 2-for-6 Mix and Match Deal. Choose two from the beef and cheddar or the roast beef, each with a 5-ounce serving of roast beef. Only at participating Arby's. Arby's. Sliced fresh. Great taste. I'm calling out the BS this week. We've got a few fun ones, but a lot of football. Obviously, coming off of week one, there's been a lot of things, both good and bad, and we're going to cover a lot of them. But before we get to football, I've got to talk about the Nashville Predators, an up-and-coming hockey team that have been a thorn for many of other teams that are trying to make it in a very difficult Western Division. And they, in honor of the upcoming season, have a new promotion, and with every new promotion comes t-shirts. The t-shirts were supposed to say, "Let's go Preds," coming in their team colors of both blue and yellow. Instead, what the shirt said is, "Let's go Perds," P-E-R-D-S. And those Purge shirts were for sale at any NHL licensing or appealer dealership. Now, I'm all for fun little things and t-shirts, but Purds, is there nobody proofreading the t-shirts before they go out? I mean, it's not like there was a mission statement on these t-shirts. It's a 5-letter word, Preds. And by the way, calling your team the Preds, I'm sorry, it sounds like a snack that you eat during the game, not a team you root for to beat another team. But Purds, God, it's just doesn't sound right. Let's go Purds! Woo! I don't know what a Purd is, but I don't want my team to be it. So, proofread your t-shirts. Pred, Purds, don't like either one of them, but at least spell it correctly. Moving on. Now we're going into football. As we said, this was week one. A lot of stuff coming up. And one thing, gotta call out Wes Welker. Broncos did very little wrong on Thursday night in a Thursday night opening season beatdown of the defending champion Ravens. But Wes Welker was put into the game on punt return because of his sure hands. And Denver, with at the time what was a close game, didn't want to give up an easy score to the Ravens. So there's Welker standing on the 10 waiting for the punt. And what does he do? He backs up to the 5 and muffs it.
What is your major malfunction, numbnuts?
Everybody knows that when you're punting and when you're accepting the punt deep in your own territory, you stand on the 10-yard line. If it goes over your head, you just let it go. You let it bounce in the end zone, and if the opposing team's good enough on special teams to catch it within the 5, you know what? Power to them. You let it go. You don't back up to the 5 and try to catch it. What was he going to do? Fair catch it at the 5? No, just let the other team worry about that. Maybe you'll get lucky and you'll get it at the 20 from the touchback. Especially when you're put in there and your primary goal is to secure the ball. Your goal was not to gain yardage. Your goal was not to score a touchdown. It was to secure the ball. So, Wes Welker, you had a phenomenal game. 2 touchdowns, proving everybody that you don't need Tom Brady and that you were a steal for the Broncos for a measly $6 million. However, when your sole job is to catch a punt, don't back up to the 5 and try to catch it while you're moving. Just let it go. Still with football, the Danny Trevathan from that same game. It was the Denver linebacker. And you'll know where I'm going with this one. That's right. He was the linebacker who had the walk-in pick 6 of Joe Flacco. Except that he pulled a Deshaun Jackson or a Leon Lett. For those of you who are older like me, Leon Lett played for the Cowboys and was most notorious for boneheaded plays. Despite being a very good player who played for quite a few years, he was known for making a lot of boneheaded plays, including an easy touchdown in which he fumbled at the end zone line because he was showboating. And then, of course, we all know Deshaun Jackson jumping into the end zone, doing a somersault, and putting the ball down at the 1. Danny Trevathan, the linebacker, easy pick 6. Waltzing into the end zone. Easy score, right? Flips the ball behind him. Unfortunately, he flips the ball at him at the 1. Ravens recover it in the end zone, and by rule, and it was correctly called, the Ravens get the ball on their 20. It is a touchback, not a safety, not a touchdown, a touchback, possession Ravens. So, let's all give up and give a round of applause for the newest bonehead that to join the Leon Lett and Deshaun Jackson fraternity, Danny Trevathan. And speaking of that game, 49 points. Really, Ravens? 49 points. Most in history. I know Peyton Manning's a great quarterback. Got 7 touchdowns. I mean, that's skill. That's not fluke luck. You don't throw 7 touchdowns on accident. But the Ravens made a number of moves trying to make their defense younger and more explosive, including letting Ed Reed walk in free agency, allowing, or I guess not allowing, but Ray Lewis retiring. And then they let a number of free agents go. Daniel Ellerbe to the Dolphins, Paul Kruger to the Browns. But they tried to revamp, and all during the offseason and during the lead up to the game, we heard this is a good team. This is going to be a younger team, a more explosive team. Sure didn't look like it. I saw a defense that was in shambles, that was completely out of shape. They looked gassed by the second half. By the end of the second quarter and going into halftime, those cornerbacks and linebackers looked absolutely exhausted. And as a result, they allowed 49 points, the most in their history. Got to call that out, too. Speaking of former Ravens players, Deion Sanders, the off-traveled veteran player who is now a commentator for the NFL Network, he's always been openly critical of the plaintiffs in the concussion lawsuit, former players who joined the class action lawsuit against the NFL. Well, I'm kind of used to this blather that spews forth from Deion Sanders' mouth, but this always drives me nuts, just the blatant hypocrisy. Despite being openly critical of the players who have tagged on to the concussion lawsuit, he himself had 2 years ago filed for workers' comp in California, claiming that he suffered head trauma while playing with the Cowboys. So, on his national show on NFL Network, he is publicly decrying the, as he puts it, the add-ons to the class action lawsuit that the NFL has just settled, while he himself had filed a lawsuit for the very same reason.
What is your major malfunction, numbnuts?
I mean, come on. You've got to realize at this stage, Deion, you have always been in the middle of the media swarm. People hang on to your words. People seek out your words. You go out of your way to make sure people hear your words. People are going to find out that when you're saying things out of this side of your mouth, that you've also done things on the other side. You can't go back and forth like a ping pong ball. It's not an Olympic sport. Anyway, moving on to the more relevant, as we've gone on the show many times of saying, I'm a huge Bears fan. I live in the Chicagoland area my entire life, and I got to watch the Bears this weekend. Great game, 24-21 against the Bengals. Very entertaining game all the way through. But you got to call out CBS. They had a very poor production value to this particular game, and in general. During the noon hour games, while watching on CBS, we had a number of sound issues, sound going out, staticky issues. The analysts, Dan Marino, Shannon Sharp, Bill Cowher, Boomer Esiason, during the pregame show and the halftime report seemed unprepared. They're like me. They're fumbling over the words, except they're getting paid to be on national television. I'm a monkey on a radio station that's on the internet. But they're fumbling their words. They don't know the stats. They're mispronouncing players' names. These are amateur and Bush League mistakes that should not happen on one of the flagship programs for your weekly NFL broadcasts. Now, it's not all bad. Phil Simms had a really good broadcast while covering the Bears game with Jim Nantz. I'm not a big fan of Phil Simms. I disagree with him a lot of time, and I think he can get a bit preachy. But in this week, he was very good. He made a number of play calls, both aggressive and conservative, which the Bears ran exactly as he called. In particular, there was a 4th and 1 call in the fourth quarter. Phil Simms is typically a very conservative guy, and when he predicts a play, he almost always leans conservative. But he is on top of it. He's like, 4th and 1, you got to go for it, because by controlling the clock, you can end this game here. And with a Matt Forte, don't be afraid to run outside. It got stopped the last time, but there's openings there to run outside. And what do the Bears do? Matt Forte runs outside, picks up the 4th and 1. There's a penalty on a couple plays later, which by the Bengals, personal foul penalty, which seals their fate. And because of that play call, it's arguably the Bears won that game. And Phil Simms was right on top of it. So kudos for him. But for the rest of the CBS coverage, got to call that out. Moving over to the AFC, the Tennessee Titans return man, Darius Raynaud, took a safety on the kickoff. Yeah, when he took it, he grabbed the ball in the end zone and kneeled down. Problem was, his foot was on the end zone line. A lot of people don't know this rule, so let me explain it to you. When you're in the end zone, you have the option of taking the ball out or taking a knee. By taking a knee, you will get the touchback. Everybody knows that common rule. We see it every single game. Once your foot hits the end zone line, you are deemed to have exited the end zone. The end zone line is not the entrance to the end zone. It is the exit of the end zone on kickoffs. So by stepping on that line, he had forfeited his right to kneel in the end zone. So, with his foot on the line, by receiving the kickoff and by taking that knee, he gave his team basically a safety. And that's how they still came back and won in one of my upset picks of the week. So, not to toot my own horn, but toot. But it's a stupid mistake. He is a guy who is literally making his bones in the NFL for special teams. They don't use him for much else. They give him a little bit of time to spell Chris Johnson, but now that they got Sean Green as a backup, he's not going to be doing much running. He's also not much of a receiver, so he is there purely for kick and punt return. Since you are a specialist, I would assume you know that little rule and you are aware and cognizant of your body during the entire kickoff and punt situations. So, calling him out. Moving to college, CBS this Saturday for the big game, and you know which one I'm talking about, the Texas A&M Aggies versus the Alabama Crimson Tide. Two teams that people love to hate but are no doubt going to watch this week in droves. CBS has announced that they plan to implement a Johnny Cam. That's right. Complete coverage of Johnny Manziel the entire time. At no point during their broadcast will they not have Johnny Manziel on a camera. Oh, this is fantastic. So when that defense for the Texas A&M Aggies is sacking the quarterback for Alabama, or maybe even making some fantastic game-changing play, we get to watch Johnny Manziel on the sideline picking his nose. Riveting stuff. You know, far be it from me to criticize